Hello, my name is Akaya Tucker, and I'm reporting to you from Channel 5 News. We have two groundbreaking stories about two U.S. soldiers who deserted the U.S. military when the military needed them the most. The first soldier is Bowe Bergdahl, and on June 30th, 2009, he left his Afghanistan post by failing to notify other soldiers about where he was going. And a day later, he was captured by the Taliban, and he was held captive for 5 years. Immediately after Bowe went missing, several soldiers went searching for Bowe, and 3 soldiers were injured. One soldier was shot in the back of his head. Another soldier got his hand blown up by a grenade, and another soldier was shot in his femur. And even after having 18 surgeries to correct the problem, it's still not fixed. During the time, President Obama had to come up with an agreement with the Taliban in order to help Bowe be set free. A part of the deal was being able to allow 5 Taliban soldiers to be released from Guantanamo Bay. The deal went through and Bowe was released. When Bowe was questioned about why he left his post on that night, Bowe stated that he left his post because he wanted to find the general and talk to the general about some incompetence of some officers who were working in his unit, and he thought that he would be able to discover some new information on the Taliban's that he would be able to report to his unit. Bowe stated that he realized that he made a foolish decision, but he didn't think that his actions would cause so much damage to other people, and he thought that by bringing and he thought that he would be able to bring more information about the Taliban and that it would help people in his unit, so he didn't understand why. So he didn't think about why it was such a bad decision during that time. There was a lot of criticism by Republicans after Obama allowed Bowe to be released because Donald Trump stated that Bowe should have been executed and that he believed that Bowe was actually conspiring to work with the Taliban and work against the U.S. during that time. A lot of people stated that Bowe should be charged for his crimes, and he could end up facing life in prison if he's convicted of desertion and misbehavior. The desertion charge is because he left his post, and the misbehavior charge is because he caused several soldiers to have to look for him in hostile territory for weeks while he was missing.
What is the impact of your story? Is it a trauma, a feel-good story?
The story is a trauma because 3 people were injured and a dog was injured while looking for Bowe.
Why is the story important?
The story is important because service members should always remember to abide by the rules that the military has set for them. By not following the rules, it can cause somebody to get hurt, and it can cause them to get in a lot of trouble. It can cause them to have to spend a lot of time in jail. And when you decide to serve in the military, you have to really respect the values and really honor the commitment of serving so that everybody can be safe.
Who/what was involved?
Bowe was involved in this situation because he made the decision of leaving his post, and by leaving his post, it caused people to have to look for him, and it caused people to be injured, and it caused Bowe to get in trouble.
Why would these individuals participate in this event? Where did the story take place, and how is it relevant? Has the story already happened, or is it ongoing? What is the difference between what if it happened today?
This story has already happened, and Bowe has already received his punishment. A lot of people viewed it as if Bowe shouldn't receive time in jail because he actually seemed like he had planned on coming back to his post, and they believed his reasoning for him leaving his post. And so they decided that they weren't going to make him spend any time in jail, and they decided that he would be dishonorably discharged from the military because of his actions. In conclusion, Bowe ended up being dishonorably discharged from the military, and his story should be spread throughout the media because it is very important to follow the rules that's set forth by the military, because it can cause the country to have to go through a lot of devastating losses. It can cause people to be removed from the military, and it can cause the military to not. It can cause the military to lose their reputation when people aren't making good decisions. The second U.S. soldier is Kimberly Rivera, and Kimberly Rivera was charged with deserting the military. In 2006, Kimberly decided to join the military because she was a struggling mom of with 4 children, and she was trying desperately to make ends meet. And during the time that she applied to be in the military was going through a war in Iraq, and they were desperately in need of people. And they offered her an $8,000 bonus to sign up, and so she decided to take initiative to join the military. And in 2006, she went through her first deployment, and during that deployment, it was reported by the National Post that Kimberly really struggled with dealing with her emotions during that deployment. She saw an Iraqi girl crying because she had lost her family, because her family had ended up being collateral damage. And since the girl lost her family, and just seeing other things that went on during that time in the military, she started to feel like serving in the military was immoral, and she started to feel disillusioned, and she didn't want to be in the military anymore. And so after she deployed in Iraq in 2006, she went to Canada, and she was ordered to deploy to Iraq again, but she failed to comply. After she exhausted all of the legal options that she had to be able to live in Canada, Canada decided to turn Kimberly over to the U.S. military. After she was turned over to the U.S. military, it was determined that she could spend at least 2 to 5 years in prison. Some people view Kim's story as disheartening because of the trauma that she experienced the first time she deployed. And a lot of people knew that she was a struggling mother trying to make ends meet, and the military seemed like her ticket out of living in poverty and struggling, and it gave her a way to provide for her children. But other people view it as she knew what she signed up for when she decided to be in the military, and as a service member, you have to be devoted to fulfilling the values and the mission of the military. You can't really just use the military for its financial gain. You have to be devoted, and when you're asked to deploy, they're expecting you to deploy, because if you don't, you're breaking one of their laws, and that is a very big law to break, and it can receive a very harsh consequence.
Has the story already happened, or is it ongoing? What is the difference between what if it happened today?
If Kim's story would have happened today, I'm very sure that she would have been sentenced to a longer prison sentence, because she only received 11 months, and a lot of people think that receiving an 11-month sentence for deserting the military is, a very small punishment. And I think that in today's society, if the military asks you to deploy and you fail to do it, I'm pretty sure that you could probably face 10 or 15 years, or they might even try to give you a life sentence. The punishment will be way heavier. And a lot of times they won't really And they're definitely not going to really consider your mental health, because once you take that oath to be in the military, they're really expecting you to be able to fulfill everything they're asking you to do. In conclusion, these two U.S. soldiers brought a lot of shame to the U.S. military by deserting the military when the military needed them the most. In the future, soldiers need to be prepared to remember their values and always think responsibly and use selfless service whenever they're working, and make sure that they think about some of their other soldiers and make sure that they're making decisions that aren't doing anything to harm our country.